1979, a substitute teacher who did not even know her song was playing became a #1 artist overnight. A rejected B-side won a Grammy category, the Grammys erased the very next year, and a teenage crush inspired one of the biggest debut hits in music history. These are 12 real, verified, true stories behind the soul and R&B records that defined 1979. The secrets, the near misses, and the accidents that turned unknown singers into legends almost overnight. Welcome to R&B GROOVLore, the channel that goes back, digs deep, and brings the real stories behind the music out of the shadows. So let's count down 12 forgotten soul hits from 1979 that changed music forever.
I just walked in to find you here with that sad look upon your face.
Number 12. Cheryl Lynn, Got to Be Real, released in 1979. She had never made a professional record before the day a television game show changed her life. In 1976, Cheryl Lynn stepped onto the Gong show and sang "You Are So Beautiful," the only secular song she knew at the time, and scored a perfect 30, the show's highest possible mark. The performance sat unaired for months, while Cheryl went back to performing in a stage production of The Wiz. So by the time it finally broadcast, she had almost forgotten it happened. When it aired, record executives from across the industry started calling, and she had no idea who most of them even were. Columbia Records signed her, pairing her with a keyboard player named David Paich, whose own band Toto had not released a record yet, and a young producer named David Foster, who had never won a Grammy in his life. In a single session, Cheryl ad-libbed lyrics straight from her own beliefs about love, while the band built the groove live around her voice. Got to Be Real became her first single ever released, and it shot to #1 on the R&B chart and #12 on the pop chart, earning a Grammy nomination along the way. A woman discovered on a show built for bad acts and loud buzzers became one of disco's most enduring voices, all from one afternoon on daytime television. Number 11. Anita Ward, Ring My Bell, released in 1979. Anita Ward was a substitute teacher in Memphis, Tennessee, and on the morning her song hit #1 across America, nobody had bothered to tell her. She found out the way everyone else did, because she was not a star yet. She was just a teacher with a side career in gospel music. Ring My Bell was not written for her at all. Songwriter Frederick Knight originally wrote it for 11-year-old Stacy Lattisaw, an innocent song about kids talking on the telephone. But when Lattisaw signed with a different label, the song sat unused in Knight's drawer for years. Ward's debut album needed one more upbeat track, so Knight pulled the shelved song out, kept the catchy title, and rewrote the lyrics for a grown woman instead of a child. Ward was not even sure she liked it, later admitting it was a song she thought she did not like, but she recorded it anyway in just 2 days. In June 1979, Ring My Bell hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, the R&B chart, and the UK singles chart, all at the same time. A song originally meant for a child became one of the defining anthems of the disco era, sung by a substitute teacher who almost said no to it. Number 10. Peaches and Herb, Reunited, released in 1979. Herb fame had walked away from music entirely. After years of trying to make it as one half of Peaches and Herb, he quit the industry and spent 6 years working as a police officer on the streets of Washington, D.C., leaving the charts far behind him. When he decided to return to singing in the mid-1970s, the original Peaches was gone, so producer Van McCoy introduced him to a young Washington, D.C. model named Linda Green to fill the role. Their first album together went nowhere until songwriters Freddie Perrin and Dino Ficaris, the same duo behind I Will Survive, stepped in to write for them.
We both are so excited 'cause we're
Reunited was written as a kind of sequel to an old Peaches and Herb song called United, even though Herb was not singing it with the same woman anymore. Perrin knew they had something special the moment Linda Green heard the demo for the first time and began to cry before she ever sang a note.
and sugar, this one is it.
The song spent 4 weeks at #1 on both the pop and R&B charts, sold over 2 million copies, and earned a Grammy nomination for Song of the Year. A former police officer and a model who cried at a demo tape ended up with one of the biggest duets of the entire decade.
Reunited 'cause we understand.
Number 9. Minnie Riperton, Memory Lane, released in 1979. By the time Minnie Riperton recorded Memory Lane in a Hollywood studio, she already knew she was dying. She had been diagnosed with breast cancer 3 years earlier and given about 6 months to live, a prognosis she had already defied by 2.5 years while continuing to perform. Riperton had one of the most extraordinary voices in recorded music, a 5-octave range that Stevie Wonder once called the voice of a perfect angel. She had become the national spokeswoman for the American Cancer Society and had been personally presented a Courage Award at the White House by President Jimmy Carter. Memory Lane was written with her husband Richard Rudolph, and on its surface, it reads like a song about a fading relationship. But underneath, Riperton was singing about her own life slipping away, pleading in the lyrics not to go, and begging to be saved. The album Minnie was released in April 1979, and on July 12th of that same year, Riperton died at age 31 in her husband's arms, while a recording Stevie Wonder had made specifically for her played nearby, begging her to get well. Her daughter grew up to be actress and comedian Maya Rudolph, and Memory Lane was still climbing the charts when the world found out she was gone. Number 8. Smokey Robinson, Cruisin', released in 1979. Before 1979, Smokey Robinson had released 8 solo albums since leaving the Miracles, and not one of them had cracked the Billboard Top 20. His longtime guitarist, Marv Tarplin, had handed him a cassette tape of unused music years earlier, and Smokey loved it instantly, but he could not find a single word to match it. For 5 years, he tried and failed. He wrote 2, then 3 entire sets of lyrics to that same melody, and none of them worked. Until one night, he was driving down Sunset Boulevard, and an old Rascals song called Groovin' came on the radio. The word groovin' sparked something, but it was not quite right for the mood of the music, so Smokey searched for something that rhymed with the same feeling, and landed on the word cruisin'. The entire song came together in minutes, after 5 years of trying, and he recorded it, despite having a cold that day in the booth. Cruisin' was originally planned as a throwaway B-side for a Temptations remake, but when it was released in August 1979, It climbed to number 4 on the Hot 100, becoming Smokey Robinson's first ever solo top 10 hit at age 39, built entirely on a tape he carried around in his car for half a decade. Number 7. Earth, Wind and Fire, After the Love Has Gone, released in 1979. The chorus of After the Love Has Gone was never supposed to exist. Producer David Foster was sitting in a Motown executive's office pitching a completely different project when Motown founder Berry Gordy told him he needed a song that combined pop and R&B, and Foster, with nothing prepared, sat down at a piano and the chorus simply poured out of him on the spot. He rushed to songwriter Jay Graydon's house that same day, and the two of them wrote the entire verse structure in under an hour. Then they called in singer Bill Champlin to write the lyrics, and Champlin worked backward, figuring out what caused the love to die before writing a single word about the heartbreak that followed. Foster had actually recorded the song first for Champlin's own solo album, since he was producing Champlin at the time. But when Foster played it for Earth, Wind and Fire's leader Maurice White, White fell in love with it immediately, and Foster had to go back and break the news to his own artist that the song was leaving. Released in July 1979, After the Love Has Gone reached number 2 on the Hot 100 and won 2 Grammy Awards, marking David Foster's very first Grammy win of what would eventually become 15 more across his career, all sparked by a chorus he made up on the spot in someone else's meeting. Number 6. Sister Sledge, We Are Family, released in 1979. Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards had never met Sister Sledge when they sat down to write We Are Family for them. Not once. The entire song came from a single conversation with Atlantic Records president Jerry Greenberg, who described the 4 sisters to the pair in broad, warm strokes about how close they were. You won't go wrong. Oh no, this is our family jewel. From phrases like birds of a feather flocking together, Rodgers and Edwards built an entire song around a family they had never spoken to. Atlantic Records actually declined to release We Are Family as a single at first, not hearing it as a hit, but club DJs pushed it into rotation anyway, and radio eventually followed. To get our share of this world's deep. Lead singer Kathy Sledge did not even know the lyrics ahead of time. Rodgers and Edwards fed her each line through her headphones as she recorded, giving her vocal a raw, spontaneous feel that the producers loved so much, they loosened their usually tight studio control just to keep it.
And we are family.
On June 16th, 1979, We Are Family hit number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart and number 2 on the Hot 100. In 2017, the Library of Congress inducted it into the National Recording Registry, and it has since echoed through Olympic stadiums, World Cup celebrations, weddings, and funerals, all from a song written for 4 sisters 2 producers had never actually met. We're giving love in a family dog. Number 5. Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive, released in 1979. But now I hold my head high and sing. The president of Gloria Gaynor's record label made one of the most catastrophic decisions in music history. Songwriters Freddie Perrin and Dino Fakaris had just written I Will Survive, and everyone in the studio knew it was the superior track, but the label president ordered it buried anyway as the B-side to a cover of a Righteous Brothers song called Substitute. And so you felt like dropping in and just expecting to breathe. Gaynor had spent 6 months in the hospital, recovering from a serious back injury just before recording the song, and she was still wearing a back brace during the session, with the defiance in her voice coming from something painfully real rather than performance.
Was you the one who tried to break me with his body? Did you think I...
Substitute was released as the A-side and peaked at a forgettable number 107, disappearing almost instantly. But Studio 54, DJ Richie Kadzor, flipped the record over, started playing I Will Survive on repeat, and club after club followed his lead until radio finally caught on too.
Turn around now, but you're not welcome anymore.
Polydor eventually flipped the single, and I Will Survive shot to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in March 1979, selling more than 15 million copies worldwide. At the 1980 Grammys, it won the very first and only Best Disco Recording Award ever handed out, a category the Grammys created and then eliminated the following year, for a song a record executive once tried to hide. Number 4. Teddy Pendergrass, Turn Off the Lights, released in 1979. Teddy Pendergrass joined Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes in 1970 as the drummer, not the singer, sitting behind the kit and keeping time for someone else's voice. His path to the microphone came almost by accident, when he was gradually pushed forward to sing lead as the group's sound came together.
See, tonight I'm in a sexy mood.
His baritone became so powerful that fans began confusing him for Harold Melvin himself, since his voice was the one carrying every hit. By the mid-1970s, tension over money and credit boiled over, and Pendergrass walked away to launch a solo career, a split the Blue Notes never fully recovered from. His solo run became legendary, built on 5 consecutive platinum albums, and his famous ladies-only concerts, shows where men were not admitted, and women threw lingerie onto the stage, while he sang, in a voice that felt almost impossible for one person to produce. Turn Off the Lights, released in 1979, became the defining single of that era, a slow-burning invitation delivered in a baritone so deep it felt dangerous, and it climbed into the top 5 on the R&B chart. 3 years later, a car accident left Pendergrass paralyzed from the waist down, but the voice that once hid behind a drum kit had already changed R&B forever. Number 3. Prince, I Wanna Be Your Lover, released in 1979. Prince's debut album had failed, not quietly but catastrophically. For You had cost Warner Brothers a fortune after Prince blew through his own recording budget, obsessing over every detail as a 19-year-old with full producer control, and the album stalled outside the Billboard Top 160. Warner Brothers needed a hit to justify the risk they had taken on him, and for one of the only times in his career, Prince actually listened to his label's demands. But the song he wrote to save his career was never meant for himself in the first place. I Wanna Be Your Lover was written for Patrice Rushen, a singer and keyboardist who had programmed synthesizers on Prince's first album, and on whom he reportedly had a serious crush. He offered her the song along with another one called I Feel For You, and she turned down both of them. Prince kept the rejected songs, recorded I Wanna Be Your Lover almost entirely in falsetto, while playing most of the instruments himself, and released it in August 1979. It hit number 1 on the Hot Soul Singles chart and became his first true breakout hit, while I Feel For You went on to become a number 1 smash for Chaka Khan 5 years later. Number 2. Cheek, Good Times, released in 1979.
Let's all do it again. Boys will be boys.
Nile Rodgers wrote the music for Good Times the same morning it was recorded, and he had already written out the charts for the whole band before bass player Bernard Edwards, running late, walked through the studio door and asked what on earth everyone was playing.
9:45. Come tomorrow.
Edwards jumped in and started following along on bass, and Rodgers, who had spent years trying to work a walking bass line into a chic record without it ever sounding right, started shouting one word at him over the groove: walk. Edwards did exactly that, and the bass line that resulted became one of the most influential bass lines ever recorded.
Cute ponytails and girls must put in it.
Good Times hit number 1 on the Hot 100 on August 18th, 1979. But its story did not end there. Weeks later, a group called the Sugar Hill Gang built an entire song around that same bass line, called Rapper's Delight, becoming one of the first rap songs to get mainstream radio play. Rodgers heard it for the first time on a club dance floor and immediately threatened legal action, and the credits were changed so that Rodgers and Edwards received full songwriting royalties. A bass line born from a bass player showing up late became the literal foundation of an entirely new genre of music. Number 1. Michael Jackson, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, released in 1979. By 1979, Michael Jackson had been a professional performer for more than a decade, recording since he was 9 years old and charting hit after hit with his brothers. But in all that time, he had never once had full creative control over one of his own solo recordings. Not a single time. That changed when Jackson pushed to work with producer Quincy Jones, whom he had met while filming The Wiz, and insisted on writing his own material for what would become his first album on Epic Records. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough was the result, a song Jackson wrote entirely himself and sang in a soaring falsetto so high it had to be overdubbed just to fill it out. Released in July 1979, it became his first solo number 1 hit on both the Hot 100 and the Soul Singles chart, proving that the boy who had spent his whole career performing other people's songs finally had a voice of his own on the page as well as on the microphone. Off the Wall would go on to sell more than 20 million copies, and Don't Stop Till You Get Enough became the opening statement of an entirely new chapter, a 9-year-old prodigy who had finally grown into a songwriter capable of writing his own legend, one falsetto note at a time.